Besides, there's also often this idea brought into religious discourses, especially when dealing with paganism. This glamorization, this romanticism that past societies that worshipped a goddess or were more goddesses driven were far better and equal. You know, I was an archaeologist for 11 years and I have studied plenty of past societies. I still do, but just not as an archaeologist anymore. But anyway, there's a curious example actually in the Chalcolithic of the Western Iberian Peninsula, just as an example of a society that broke down the megalithic culture. There's this romantic idea that the megalithic culture was more matriarchal and far more goddess-driven, and then there came the patriarchal societies to end it all by fire and sword. While the megalithic society in this example I'm giving was indeed replaced by the next cultural movement, they were far from being matriarchal, and there are no clear indications that they were entirely patriarchal. There are no indications they were more or less violent than the next culture or the previous culture. Cultural, religious, traditional, ideological, political, economic, and social shifts are all complex factors that compose societies, and there are many circumstances, elements, and causes that progressively lead to these shifts, and not just by some patriarchal society that disrupts the peace and stability of some matriarchal society. That's a very simplistic view and not at all substantial. Besides the example I was giving, the culture and religion that came to replace megalithism, they venerated a goddess, and by no means they were more or less violent than the Neolithic societies, which among themselves they also fought one another for control of fertile territory and had highly hierarchical social structures in order to reflect their power based on ancestry and land. And the culture and system that came to replace that venerated a solar goddess, a feminine figure, and such a divine feminine was imposed by force. The point being, well, several points here expressed actually, it does not help and doesn't give any credit or justice to try to reshape the past to express current, necessary or not, ideologies and to implement systems, because we are living now and what we need now isn't the same as it once was. So we don't need to actively try to change the past because that doesn't automatically change the present.